Here is the biggest lie you have been told about success. We are raised to believe that if we want to learn something new, whether it is a new language, a new skill, or a new way of living, we need permission. We think we need a classroom, a certificate, or a teacher standing at the front of the room telling us what to do. But that is old thinking. The truth is, the world is full of opportunities for those who are brave enough to learn on their own. Real power doesn't come from a piece of paper on your wall. It comes from your willingness to explore. Think about it. We live in an age where the sum of human knowledge is sitting in your pocket. You have videos, podcasts, articles, and communities right at your fingertips. The best knowledge in the world is often free, but you have to be willing to reach for it. The secret isn't finding the right teacher. The secret is realizing that you are the teacher. The first step to mastering anything, especially something like speaking English confidently, is to embrace self-learning as your superpower. Stop waiting for someone to guide you. The most successful people in history didn't wait for a syllabus. They looked at what was available and they took it. You need to develop the mindset that learning is your responsibility. Every step you take on your own is a step towards freedom. But how do you actually do it? You start small. Don't try to memorize a dictionary in a week. That is a recipe for burnout. Instead, treat learning like a daily habit. Learn one new word today. Just one. Speak it aloud. W-I-R-T-E. Don't. Use it in a sentence. Then, do it again tomorrow. It sounds too simple to work, doesn't it? But think of it like a business. Businesses don't become giants overnight. They grow through small, consistent wins. If you commit to this daily habit, your skills will compound over time. This is where most people fail. They stop because they don't see immediate results. They want the medal before they have run the race. But mastery requires the courage to keep going even when you feel like you aren't moving forward. It's not about being perfect from day one. It is about stacking up small victories over months and years. Once you have established that habit, you need to get curious. Don't limit yourself to boring textbooks. The internet is a treasure trove. Watch videos on topics that actually excite you. If you love football, watch match analysis in English. If you love cooking, follow recipes in English. Learning becomes natural when it connects to your real life. Think about how a child learns their first language. They don't study grammar rules. They listen, they observe, and they imitate. You have to do the same. This leads us to the second key: immersion. You cannot learn to swim by reading a book about water. You have to jump in. If you want to speak confidently, you have to surround yourself with the language. It needs to become the background noise of your life. Watch movies, listen to music, and engage with content that sparks your curiosity. Try integrating it into your boring daily routines. When you are making coffee in the morning, narrate what you are doing. Say, I am pouring the water. I am finding a spoon. It might feel silly at first, but you are training your brain to connect your actions with the language. Speak to yourself when you are alone. Pretend you are being interviewed or telling a story. This reduces the fear of speaking because there is no audience to judge you. Another powerful trick is to mimic native speakers. Don't just listen to the words. Listen to the rhythm, the emotion, and the pauses. Try to copy them exactly. This is how you build a natural accent. It's not about memorizing rules. It's about absorbing the music of the language. Now, let's talk about the biggest barrier to progress: the fear of looking foolish. This is the third key. You must prioritize communication over perfection. Too many people stay silent because they are terrified of making a mistake. They wait for the perfect sentence, and because perfection doesn't exist, they never speak. But language isn't a test. It's a tool. Its only purpose is to connect to people. If you focus on grammar and accuracy, you will freeze. But if you focus on just getting your message across, you will flow. Look at the people who speak fluently today. They didn't start that way. They stumbled. They messed up. And they probably laughed at themselves. But they kept talking. Every time you make a mistake, don't apologize. Correct yourself and keep moving. Mistakes are not failures. They are feedback. They are proof that you are trying. Your brain learns from usage, not from theory. So, Put yourself in situations where you have to use the language. Join online discussions, write short comments, or explain a concept to a friend. Observe how great communicators operate. They use simple words. They repeat their ideas to be clear. They engage with the person in front of them. They know that clarity is worth 10 times more than a fancy vocabulary. You don't need to sound like a professor. You just need to be understood. Finally, you need to build a system. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings fade. But a system is reliable. You don't need a rigid school schedule, but you do need a plan that fits your life. Set clear, measurable goals. Maybe you want to learn 10 new words a week. Maybe you want to record a short video of yourself speaking every evening. Break your big goal down into tiny, actionable steps. Consistency beats intensity every single time. It is far better to practice for 15 minutes every day than to study for 5 hours once a week. Create a routine that works for you, not against you. Use apps, use podcasts, use whatever tools you have, but use them strategically. And remember to reflect. Look back at where you were a month ago. Celebrate the fact that you can now understand sentences that used to confuse you. That progress is your fuel. When you build your own learning system, you take back control. You stop being a passive student and you become an active achiever. You realize that you don't need a classroom to grow. You have the tools, the mind, and the spirit to do it yourself. This journey of self-learning teaches you more than just English. It teaches you discipline. It teaches you how to adapt. And most importantly, it teaches you that you are capable of changing your own life, one small step at a time. Now, let's go deeper, because having a system is one thing, but sticking to it when the road gets boring is another matter entirely. There is a phase in self-learning that nobody talks about. It's called the plateau. It happens after the initial excitement wears off. In the beginning, everything is new. You learn 5 words, and you feel like a genius. But 3 weeks in, the progress slows down. You put in the work, but you don't feel like you are getting better. You feel stuck. This is the graveyard of dreams. This is where 90% of people quit. They think, I'm not talented enough, or this isn't working. But they are wrong. The plateau isn't a dead end. It is a filter. It is the universe testing how bad you really want it. When you stop seeing results, that is not the time to stop working. That is the time to double down. You have to fall in love with the boredom of consistency. We live in a world that sells us highlight reels. We see the fluency, the success, the confidence. We don't see the hundreds of hours of stuttering, of feeling stupid, of repeating the same phrase 50 times until it sounds right. But that hidden work is where the magic happens. The person who shows up on the days they don't feel like it is the person who wins. Let's talk about identity. This is a massive shift you need to make. Stop saying, I am trying to learn English. As long as you are trying, you are giving yourself an excuse to fail. Start saying, I am an English speaker. It might feel like a lie at first, but you have to wear the identity before it fits. An English speaker doesn't skip practice. An English speaker isn't afraid to make a mistake because they know it as part of the process. When you shift your identity, your habits follow. You don't have to force yourself to study. You just do it because it's who you are. And while we are talking about mindset, we have to address the biggest enemy you will face. It isn't grammar. It isn't vocabulary. It is the fear of judgment. We are terrified that if we speak and get it wrong, people will laugh. We think everyone is watching us, judging our accent, analyzing our mistakes. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect. We walk around thinking there is a spotlight on us, highlighting our flaws. But here is the liberating truth. Nobody cares. Truly. Everyone is too busy worrying about their own lives, their own insecurities, and their own problems to obsess over your grammar. And if someone does judge you, if someone does laugh, it says everything about them and nothing about you. Small minds mock. Great minds encourage. Do not shrink yourself to make small people feel comfortable. Speak up. Be messy. Be loud. The only way to find your voice is to use it. You also need to understand the concept of input versus output. Most people spend all their time on input. They watch videos. They read books. They listen to podcasts. That is safe. It feels like work, but it is passive. Real growth comes from output. Output is scary. Output is speaking when you aren't ready. Output is writing a comment, even if you aren't sure of the spelling. You have to shift the balance. For every hour you spend consuming, spend an hour creating. Think of your brain like a muscle. If you watch someone else lift weights, you don't get stronger. You have to feel the burn yourself. The struggle to find the right word during a conversation, that uncomfortable pause where your brain is searching, that is the mental equivalent of lifting a heavy weight. That strain is literally your brain rewiring itself. Don't run from that feeling. Lean into it. That is the feeling of getting smarter. Let's look at your environment. You are a product of what surrounds you. If your phone is full of distractions, if your friends are negative, if your room is chaotic, your learning will suffer. You need to design an ecosystem of success. Change your phone settings to English. Follow accounts that inspire you. Fill your feed with the language. Put sticky notes on your mirror with the words you keep forgetting. Make it impossible to go through your day without bumping into the language. And you must learn to protect your focus. We live in an economy of distraction. Focus is the new currency. The ability to sit down for 20 minutes and do deep, focused work is a superpower. Turn off the notifications. Close the other tabs. Give yourself the gift of unbroken attention. 20 minutes of deep focus is worth more than 3 hours of distracted half work. Now, consider the power of the gap. There is a gap between your taste and your talent. You know what good English sounds like? You hear it in movies and podcasts. But when you speak, it sounds clunky. It sounds basic. That gap is frustrating. It makes you want to quit. But you have to understand that the gap is normal. Your taste is supposed to be better than your talent. That's why you are motivated to improve. The only way to close the gap is to go through a volume of work. You have to write the bad paragraphs. You have to have the awkward conversations. You have to get the bad rep out of your system to make room for the good ones. Let's talk about resilience. Resilience isn't just bouncing back, it's bouncing forward. Every time you fail to understand a joke, every time you freeze up in a conversation, you have a choice. You can let it confirm your insecurity, or you can let it fuel your determination. Frame it differently. Don't say, "I can't say this." Say, "I can't say this yet." That little word "yet" opens up the future. It reminds you that ability is not fixed. It is grown. You also need to stop comparing your Chapter 1 to someone else's Chapter 20. You see someone speaking fluently and you feel inferior. But you didn't see their years of struggle. You didn't see the thousands of mistakes they made. Comparison is the thief of joy. The only person you should compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. Did you learn one new phrase today? Then you are winning. Have you ever crammed for an exam all night, only to forget everything the next day? Or maybe you've tried to pick up a new skill, like playing the guitar, but felt like you were hitting a wall. It's frustrating, right? Well, what if I told you that understanding a little bit about the psychology of how we learn can completely transform your approach and make learning faster, easier, and way more effective? Stick around, because today we're diving deep into the science of learning, and I promise you'll walk away with some game-changing strategies you can use right away. First up, let's talk about a big idea: active recall. Think about how you usually study. Is it mostly rereading your notes, highlighting passages, or watching videos over and over? That's what we call passive learning. It feels productive, but it's actually one of the least effective ways to learn. Active recall, on the other hand, is the act of actively retrieving information from your brain. It's like doing a mini test for yourself. Instead of just reading a chapter, close a T-book and try to summarize the key points out loud or write them down from memory. It might feel harder, and that's a good thing. That struggle is your brain building stronger neural connections. So, next time you're learning something, don't just consume the information, force yourself to pull it out of your own head. Flashcards are a classic example of active recall in action. Now, let's pair active recall with another powerhouse technique: spaced repetition. Our brains are designed to forget. It's actually a feature, not a bug. It helps us filter out unimportant information. The problem is, our brain doesn't always know what we want to keep. The forgetting curve, a concept discovered by psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus, shows that we forget information exponentially over time if we don't reinforce it. Spaced repetition is the perfect antidote. Instead of cramming all your study sessions into one day, you space them out. You review the material right before you're about to forget it. For example, you might study something on day 1, then again on day 3, then a week later, then a month later. Each time, you're interrupting the forgetting process and telling your brain, hey, this is important. Keep it. There are amazing apps like Anki or Quizlet. They use algorithms to schedule these reviews for you automatically. It's like having a personal tutor who knows exactly when you need a reminder. Okay, so we're actively recalling information and spacing out our practice. What else can we do? Let's talk about the importance of sleep. I know, you've heard it before, but when it comes to learning, sleep isn't a luxury. It's a critical part of the process. While you're sleeping, your brain is hard at work, consolidating memories. It's like a librarian organizing and shelving all the books or information you took in during the day. It strengthens the important neural connections and prunes the weaker ones. Have you ever struggled with a problem, gone into sleep, and woken up with a solution? That's your brain working its magic overnight. Sacrificing sleep to cram more information is one of the worst trade-offs you can make. It's like trying to build a house without letting the cement dry. So, prioritize getting a good night's sleep, especially after an intense study session. It's non-negotiable for locking in what you've learned. Next, let's explore the concept of interleaving. This is a bit counterintuitive, but so powerful. Traditional learning often involves blocking studying one topic or skill intensely before moving to the next. For example, you practice only tennis forehands for an hour. Interleaving means mixing up different topics or skills within a single study session. So, instead of just practicing forehands, you'd practice forehands, backhands, and volleys, all mixed together. Why does this work? It forces your brain to constantly load and reload different patterns. It has to figure out which strategy to apply for each problem, which is much closer to how you'll use the knowledge in the real world. You're not just memorizing a procedure. You're learning how to choose the right procedure. It might feel less organized and more difficult in the moment, but studies show that interleaving leads to much better long-term retention and problem-solving skills. So mix it up. Don't just stick to one chapter or one type of math problem. Jump around a bit. Your brain will thank you later. Another key psychological principle is the power of focus and the myth of multitasking. We live in a world of constant distraction. Notifications, emails, social media, they're all fighting for our attention. And many of us believe we can multitask effectively. The science, however, is clear. Humans are terrible at multitasking. What we're actually doing is task switching very quickly. Every time you switch from your work to check a text and back again, there's a cognitive cost. It takes time and mental energy to re-engage with the original task. This leads to more errors, reduced comprehension, and it takes you longer to get things done. To learn effectively, you need deep, focused work. Try the Pomodoro technique. Set a timer for 25 minutes and commit to working on one single task without any interruptions. No phone, no new tabs. When the timer goes off, take a 5-minute break. This trains your brain to sustain focus and protects you from the cognitive cost of constant switching. Let's also talk about the mindset you bring to learning. Psychologist Carol Dweck's research on mindsets is revolutionary. She found that people generally hold one of two beliefs about intelligence. A fixed mindset is the belief that your intelligence and abilities are set in stone. You're either good at something or you're not. A growth mindset, on the other hand, is the belief that your abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. This simple belief has a profound impact on learning. Someone with a fixed mindset avoids challenges because they fear failure will expose their lack of ability. But someone with a growth mindset embraces challenges because they see them as opportunities to grow. They understand that effort, struggle, and even failure are part of the learning process. So, how can you cultivate a growth mindset? Start by changing yourself. Instead of saying, I can't do this, try I can't do this, asterisk, yet asterisk. Instead of I failed, try I learned what doesn't work. Celebrate the process, not just the outcome. Finally, connect what you're learning to what you already know. This is called elaborative encoding. Our brain doesn't store information in isolated files. It builds a web of interconnected knowledge. The more connections a new piece of information has, the more likely you are to remember it. So, when you're learning something new, ask yourself questions. How does this relate to my own experiences? Can I think of an analogy or a metaphor for this concept? Can I explain this to teaching someone else, or even just pretending to, is one of the most effective forms of elaboration. It forces you to simplify, structure, and truly understand the material on a deeper level. Don't just be a passive recipient of facts. Actively weave them into the fabric of your existing knowledge. So let's recap these powerful psychological tools for learning. First, use active recall to pull information out of your brain. Don't just passively put it in. Second, use spaced repetition to combat the forgetting curve by reviewing information at increasing intervals. Third, prioritize sleep to allow your brain to consolidate memories and strengthen connections. Fourth, mix up your practice with interleaving to build more flexible and robust skills. Fifth, avoid multitasking and embrace focused work sessions. Sixth, cultivate a growth mindset, seeing challenges as opportunities to grow. And finally, use elaboration to connect new information to what you already know. Learning isn't about raw talent or grinding for hours on end. It's about learning smart. By applying these evidence-based strategies from psychology, you can make your learning journey more efficient, effective, and honestly, a lot more enjoyable. Stop fighting against your brain's natural tendencies and start working with them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found these tips helpful. Which one are you most excited to try first? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and want more content on how to learn better and live smarter, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. See you in the next one. Your time is coming. Keep believing. Keep fighting. Don't just watch. Go out and prove them wrong. Thank you for being part of the journey. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.